All right, so let's talk about one of the biggest unsung heroes in any company. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the sourcing team. You know that group that's almost always misunderstood, but is absolutely critical to success. We're going to expose the hidden playbook they use to protect and create value in ways you've probably never even thought about before.
So let me ask you something. When you hear sourcing team, what's the first word that pops into your head? Probably price, right? Or maybe savings or discounts. And look, that's what everybody thinks. But I'm here to tell you that's one of the biggest misconceptions in the entire business world.
Because that whole focus on price, well, that's just the part you can see. It's the tiny, visible tip of this colossal iceberg. And trust me, the real game, the stuff that makes or breaks a company's success, is all happening way down in the depths. So let's gear up and dive in.
Okay, so let's start at the surface, the part everyone sees, right? The tip of the iceberg. We all think it's just about price, but even here, the sourcing team is playing chess, while most people are still playing checkers.
Look, anybody can line up two price tags and pick the cheaper one. That's just basic price analysis. But the pros? Oh, they perform a full-on cost autopsy. They actually dissect the price into its core components. The materials, the labor, the logistics, the overhead. They're not just asking, what's your price? They're asking, show me why that's your price. And that completely changes the game from some street market haggle to a strategic, data-backed negotiation.
All right, let's take our first plunge below the waterline. You see, most people think a deal is done and dusted when the ink dries on the contract. Time to pop the champagne, right? Nope. For the elite sourcing teams, signing the contract is just the starting gun. Now, the real battle begins.
And why is this battle so critical? Well, get this. Studies show that companies can hemorrhage up to 15% of the value they just fought so hard to negotiate. It's like watching money just vanish into thin air, all because no one was guarding the deal after the deal was signed. This value drain actually has a name, and it is the silent killer of profitability. Contract leakage. It's this sneaky, slow creep that just eats away at your savings when you're not looking. It's like the ghost in the machine of your company's finances.
And believe me, this ghost has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. It's that auto-renewal clause that nobody caught that suddenly jacks up the price. It's the supplier who promised you the world but is consistently under-delivering and no one is calling them on it. Each one is a tiny little cut, but you put them all together and it's a 1,000-cut bleed out of your bottom line.
So how do you fight a ghost? With data. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the sourcing team's ghost-busting toolkit. They don't just file contracts away in a drawer. They weaponize them. They build dashboards that put every single supplier promise under a microscope. And you see those red dots? That's not just a bad grade on a report card. That's a penalty trigger. That's the sound of the sourcing team actively clawing back value that the business would have otherwise lost forever.
Okay, let's go even deeper now. This next challenge is huge because it's not about managing one little contract. It's about changing the entire company's DNA. It's about shifting everyone from this short-term mindset of let's get a cheap deal today to how do we build incredible value for the long haul.
You see, this is the leap from being a transactional shopper to being a strategic portfolio manager. It's a whole discipline called category management. So a shopper buys a laptop. A category manager develops a multi-year strategy for the company's entire tech spend, aligning it with business goals, innovation, and total value. It's a completely different universe of thinking.
And a key weapon in their arsenal is the supplier scorecard. This simple tool is honestly revolutionary. It flips the entire conversation from being all about price to being about performance. So suddenly it's not just, what's our discount? It's, what's your defect rate, your on-time delivery percentage, what's in your innovation pipeline? It forces this objective, data-driven partnership. And please don't mistake this for some kind of busy work. The impact is staggering. I've personally seen teams use this exact approach to slash supplier defect rates by over 30%. I mean, think about that. That's not just a number on a spreadsheet. That's a better product in your customers' hands. That's a stronger brand reputation. And it all started with a sourcing team that decided to play the long game. So now we're heading into the deepest, darkest part of the iceberg. This is where the sourcing team isn't just a business partner. They're the night watchman on the castle wall, scanning the horizon for threats that no one else even knows exist yet.
And these are not hypotheticals. I mean, this is the world we live in now. A key supplier going belly up overnight, a single ship getting stuck in a canal and grinding global trade to a halt, a partner getting caught in an ethical scandal. These are those black swan events that can bring a global company to its knees in hours. This is the stuff that keeps them up at night.
Now what's really interesting, and what I love showing people, is how they tame all this chaos. They don't panic, they map it. This is a risk heat map. It forces them to quantify the unquantifiable, plotting the likelihood of a threat versus the impact it would have. And it instantly tells them where the 5-alarm fire is, right there, in that top right red zone. That's where you focus.
And they don't just sit there and stare at the map. No, they build a fortress around the business. They identify the suppliers they absolutely cannot live without. They find backups before they need them. They act like financial detectives, constantly monitoring their partners for any signs of trouble. It's not just risk management, it's proactive, strategic resilience.
Okay, so after all of this, fighting contract leakage, building strategic partnerships, scanning for global risks, comes what might be the toughest challenge of all for these teams: proving their worth. I mean, how do you show the value of a crisis that didn't happen? How do you make all this invisible work visible to everyone else?
Well, it really comes down to their guiding mantra, often credited to Peter Drucker. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And, I'd add, you can't get credit for it either. And that's why the best sourcing teams are absolute data fanatics.
And here's the crucial point. They translate all that deep, complex work into simple clarity, using dashboards just like this one. They aren't just showing negotiated savings, they're showing cash in the bank, realized savings. They're tracking that leakage down to the penny, they're scoring risk, they're taking everything that was hidden beneath the surface and shining a massive spotlight right on it for the whole business to see.
So when you pull it all together, you realize this isn't a purchasing department anymore. It's more like the central nervous system of the business. The job isn't just buying stuff. The job is value creation, risk mitigation, and strategic protection. It is, fundamentally, about guarding the entire business.
So I'm going to leave you with this one thought. The next time you're in a meeting and someone asks who's driving real, sustainable value, who's really protecting the business from the stuff that keeps the CEO up at night, I want you to look past the usual sales charts and the marketing decks. Because chances are, the answer is that unsung hero with the secret playbook, your sourcing team.